A strange challenge is going viral on China's social media. Scroll through Xiaohongshu, China's version of Instagram, and you'll see it everywhere. Chinese people post photos of plain rice, boiled eggs, a handful of vegetables, and to each meal they add a price tag: 3 yuan, 5 yuan, 10 yuan. What's the challenge then? Survive on no more than 500 yuan a month on food. That's about $70. If you succeed, you lower the target next month. Maybe you can survive on 60. And these aren't just extreme savers. Hundreds of thousands are taking part. Students, office workers, middle-class Chinese. So, what's really going on here? Not long ago, China's newly rich were showing off their Ferraris, Rolex watches, and Chanel bags. And now, they're literally competing to see who can spend less on food. This isn't just a social media trend. It's a warning sign, a sign that something has gone fundamentally wrong with China's economy. But here's the thing. Most people don't fully understand what exactly went wrong and how can it be fixed. Some blame the housing crisis, others point to Trump's tariffs. But no, the real reason is much bigger. By the end of this video, you'll finally understand what's happening with China's economy and why it's so hard to fix. Now let's get started. Today, China is facing a crisis unlike anything it's seen in recent times. And that's because its old economic model just isn't working anymore. For decades, China had one answer to economic growth: build, build, build. Roads, bridges, railways, airports. The country was literally hit by a construction fever. Banks lowered interest rates and made borrowing ridiculously easy as borrowing candies. State companies were flooded with money, and the economy took off. It didn't even matter if some projects didn't make sense. Bridges to nowhere, empty roads. As long as people were employed and GDP was rising, it was all good. Until it wasn't. Because at some point, the cracks started to show. Remember China's ghost towns? Those cities with empty streets and endless rows of empty apartments, waiting for residents who never came? They became the clearest sign of an economy that built too much without enough returns, and now China is definitely running out of things to build. So what comes next? Well, China needs a new economic model, and it needs one fast. But what exactly is this new model? Well, there are a few ways a country can grow. One is investment, and China has definitely done that. The second is export, but that's becoming harder with Donald Trump and the world shifting towards protectionism. The third way is consumption, and that's the tricky part. It's easier to launch big construction projects than it is to convince millions of people to spend more. And that brings us back to the social media challenge, where people compete to spend less on food. Why aren't Chinese people spending? Well, at the moment, they feel quite pessimistic about their future. Put yourself into their shoes. First came the brutal COVID lockdowns, which forced them into a culture of frugality. Then came the property crisis, which wiped out a lot of wealth overnight. Then deflation and a miserable job market. After so many shocks, people have lost their appetite for spending. They are keeping their money in the bank, preparing for the next emergency. No more luxury cars or expensive bags, just the basics. To put things into perspective, in rich countries, household spending usually makes up about 60 to 70% of GDP. In China, just 38%. That's dangerously low. And how is the Chinese government trying to fix this? Beijing has made it clear, 2025 is the year of boosting consumption. They've introduced state subsidies to offer discounts on things like cars, tablets, and smartphones, and they've even raised government salaries by 500 yuan per month. But economists say this isn't enough. If China really wants people to spend, it needs to tackle the root problems. The first is that the government needs to understand that Chinese society has changed. A huge cultural generational shift, and spending habits have evolved. Today, China's younger generation isn't like their parents. They were raised with plenty of material goods. And now they don't want another Gucci bag. They want experiences. Camping trips, budget travel, concerts, cultural activities. The problem is that China's services sector is still underdeveloped compared to rich countries. There just aren't that many options. This is why Beijing has now started focusing more on tourism and entertainment. One way is by trying to attract global superstars to China. Mariah Carey, John Legend, James Blunt, you name it. Think about it, Kanye West's concert in China alone brought in $7.2 million, and officials in Shanghai have literally called Taylor Swift a walking GDP. And they are right. These artists can bring a huge cultural and economic revival in China. Concert tickets, but also flights, hotels, restaurants. And by growing the entertainment and tourism sectors, China can drive more spending and generate tax revenue. But what's the second big reason why people aren't spending? China has a weak welfare system. Even Xi Jinping himself has said that giving too many benefits makes people lazy. But the result, Chinese people feel they must save for their healthcare, for their children's education, for their own retirement. Things got even worse for the 300 million migrant workers who move to big cities but don't qualify for local benefits. Studies show these workers save up to 70% of their income just to cover unpredicted medical expenses. And that's a problem. If people are too scared to spend, China's economy will stay stuck. Without a complete change, economists believe that China's growth is likely to slow to around 3% in the long term, well below the current pace of 5%. Yet, despite this, the Chinese government is still not fully addressing the welfare issue. Why? Well, maybe because a complete shift to consumer-led economy would upset the elites who benefited from the construction fever. Top leaders, state-owned enterprises, powerful businessmen. These people thrived under China's investment-led model. And as for inviting more international artists and improving the entertainment sector, well, that also means opening the door to alternative lifestyles and provocative views. In other words, it means opening the door to what China calls the spiritual pollution from the West. All these things can lead to political instability, which is Xi Jinping's worst nightmare. So, the big question here is, can China once again strike the right balance between political stability and economic growth? As usual, we will watch this closely. See you in the next video.